President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth addressing the top military brass gathered in Quantico, Virginia. Hegseth dropping a nuke on woke standards and telling troops to drop down and give them 20.
Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. We are done with that. The era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look.
President Trump following Secretary Pete's speech with an hour-long speech, letting the brass know that he has their backs.
Together, we're reawakening the warrior spirit, and this is a spirit that won and built this nation. And we're a team, and so my message to you is very simple. I am with you, I support you, and as president, I have your backs 100%. You'll never see me even waver a little bit. Over the next few years, we're going to make our military stronger, tougher, faster, fiercer, and more powerful than it has ever been before. We have beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper. I said, throw a little more gold on it. They deserve it. I want the A paper, not the D paper. We used to sign a piece of garbage. I said, this man's going to be a general, right? Yeah. I don't want to use this. I want to use the big, beautiful, firm paper. America is respected again as a country. We were not respected with Biden. They looked at him falling downstairs every day. Every day, the guy's falling downstairs. One thing with Obama, I had zero respect for him as a president, but he would bop down those stairs. I've never said, da-da-da-da-da-da, bop, bop, bop. He'd go down the stairs, wouldn't hold on. I said, it's great. I don't want to do it. I guess I could do it, but eventually, bad things are going to happen.
And the reviews are in from the ladies of The View. And Joy Behar wasn't a fan of Pete's war on fat generals.
Why is he obsessed with fat?
I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
Maybe he's referring to Colonel Sanders.
It was really a bizarre thing. I don't understand the sort of hypocrisy of firing these people, having all these people meet together, and then denigrating them.
All right, so going into this, Dana, the mainstream media was freaking out. Why is he doing this? What's going on? And now you see what happened today. What happened?
Well, even this morning, there was an NPR report that said, well, this is reminiscent of 1935, I think, when Hitler brought all the generals together, and they just, basically the cat ran away with the spoon, and they a little bit lost their minds. So when it comes to The View, frankly, this speech, she wasn't a targeted audience. The target audience was the people in the room. Now, they open it up to the media so that everybody could see it. We live in a television world. That makes sense to me. But even I wasn't the audience. The audience were the people that they brought in. And I, for one, am all for a more aggressive posture for a Department of War. I'm actually okay calling it the Department of War. I like being on a more aggressive standing. I think that what the president said about "I have your backs" was the basic military principle that maybe they didn't feel like they needed to hear it, but everybody was in the room. Everybody heard the same thing. So nobody can go away and say, I think we're supposed to do climate change stuff now. No, everybody got the same message all at the same time. I did think that one of the things that might have been great for the president and for the generals and the secretary would have been for there to be maybe a shorter speech on the president's side, but a longer photo line where he could shake everybody's hand, get a picture, and have that personal touch.
Did he do the
That's
photo
very
line?
good. I don't think so. I think he left right after that.
Okay. Greg Gutfeld.
Yes.
Were you inspired by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth?
Very confused. Dana, what does FAFO stand for?
I have to direct message.
Just the first part.
Just to ask.
Okay, all right. I was just quite. The attack on beards was just a mean slight on Cory Booker. I don't understand. It's not surprising that The View does not understand how important fitness is, especially to self-defense. You know, their only threats are flatulence and heartburn. Their only enemy is carbs, and they're getting their butts kicked. I was sitting, you know, listening to this, and I kept thinking about how I used to see our nation's enemies when I grew up. I grew up during the Cold War, so it was Russia. I was here at 9/11, so it was Islamism. Those were the two. But today, like, I don't feel like there's an evil axis. I get that we can't trust Russia, we can't trust China, we can't trust Iran, but they don't fill me with apocalyptic fear. And I think it's because I feel like it's from within. And I think they understood that there was a pernicious, determined ideology that saw virtue in our weakness and viewed strength as oppressive. That was the wokeism. And people think that being against woke is just minor. No, it was a big deal. I always felt that what was destroying our country was within. They understand that. If you look at the last, I don't know, 5 years or whatever, you know, appointing a cross-dressing luggage thief to oversee nuclear waste and a delusional Admiral Mann as Assistant Secretary of Human Health and Services, is that right? Who fashions himself a female. These revealed priorities that were beneficial to our enemies. They love seeing that stuff. When we opened investigation into the politics of our troops to weed out perceived white supremacy, our enemies must have liked that too, because we're taking our eye off the ball. When we mandated curriculum that dictated that our country's values are indefensible, that they might be racist or oppressive, I mean, that is amazing for people who hate us. Our enemies must have loved that. So I guess when I see this, is you're seeing solid leadership standing up to this suicidal snowball that's coming down, that was to an impending implosive defeat. And our global competitors who do not have this suicidal empathy, they don't even have to lift a weapon. We destroy ourselves. I mean, identity politics is the key and was the key to our own destruction. So I feel like this is progress in a big way. It's not about China or Russia or Iran, it's about us.
Harold Ford, do you take issue with anything your colleague Greg has said?
I just have a slightly different opinion. First of all, I feel like I've been gone for a month. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be back. Couple things. And I don't like differing with my pal DP either. But a couple things I go. First off,
brace yourself, America.
I tread carefully. I didn't like the televised part of this because it reminded me of something that might happen in China or North Korea. I didn't mind Secretary Hegseth, whom I know and consider a friend, doing what he did. But I have to say, if I were an adversary of the United States, and obviously I'm not, but if I was watching this, I'm not convinced that I would be more fearful of the United States, or for that matter, wanting to be more like them. Number two, I don't like the Department of War moniker now. I think it should be called the Department of Deterrence. President Trump is the first president in my lifetime, I'm 55, who openly talks about not wanting war, wanting to end wars, wanting to get people out of war. Even when they're not Americans shedding blood, he has shown a compassion verbally for, and I think sincerely, on behalf of the Ukrainians and the Russians. Greg, you're right. In a lot of ways, I grew up, you're just a few years older than me, but I grew up the same way with Russia and then the axis of evil that President, your boss, talked about so eloquently, Dana. I think the challenge we face now is one that has evolved. We still face a military threat from China, and I think we face an economic threat from China. And I think technology, to me, is the great kind of equalizer in some ways. As we watch the threat we face from radical Islam in the 2000s, we saw the rise of non-nation state actors. And the non-nation state actors today are ones that have great engineers and people who can hack into systems and can undermine and upend the way lives are lived, and for that matter, anywhere in the world.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How do you fight those threats when you're fighting yourself?
So I think every generation has had an opportunity or has had that threat where they've had to fight from within. You can look back in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. From the 20s, when you had basically inside America, it was very, very rich people who frankly, that's how unions got started. And frankly, where I'm from in the South, we didn't have electricity. So we had to have a president create the TVA and do all these things. So we've always had these things, and it may be more prominent today. I don't disagree with your things about DI and some of the challenges, but I look at it differently. And I just wish and hope that both the president and Secretary Hegseth, I'm sure they understand, the men and women in that room today, they're the most important, the most experienced commanders in all of the world. They have seen more combat, managed and successfully managed through more crises than anybody, I would argue, in American business, education, media, and certainly the military. I hope at some point we're able to give those men and women in that room our plans to win in Ukraine, our plans to resolve the matters in the Middle East, and for that matter, what we're going to do going forward to ensure that, Greg, that what you said turns out to be right, that my kids and your kids and all of our kids don't have to think about the kind of axis of evil and challenges that we face. They probably will. It will be different. But I think the moment we face today, China is the thing that concerns me.
I'm more scared of what I see in our cities, radicals, the revolutionaries on campuses, the people who call us fascists and Hitler, who kill our leaders here. North Korea didn't kill Charlie Kirk.
Yeah,
Well,
and I would say,
I
look,
think the technology and all that
the
stuff is okay.
generals in that room, the military personnel in that room saw the weakness and fecklessness of President Joe Biden. They saw someone who let Afghanistan fall. I still have questions as to what happened in the Situation Room. Was he fully there? Was he fully with it as he was making these grievous national security decisions? They saw a commander-in-chief that said don't, and then they saw a Russian adversary that did in Ukraine. They saw someone who said don't, and then they saw that Hamas did in Israel. They saw weakness. And then they see President Trump, and they saw a guy who took out Fordo. They saw a guy who acted, who's made peace in 7 conflicts, who's on the verge of a Gaza peace deal. And I think they're relieved to have this guy back as a true commander-in-chief. Look, I remember in 2021, the Russians put out their military ad. To hell with limits, they said. There's no victory without battles. We put out our ad for the military recruitment video. I was raised by 2 moms. I marched for equality. I'm sorry. What do you respect? What does the adversary respect? They respect the strength of President Trump. And the message he sent, I agree with you, Dana, is so important when he said, I am with you, I support you, I have your backs 110%. I remember going to Fort Bragg with President Trump when I was press secretary. And the guys there were like, you have such a tough job as press secretary. I'm like, no, you have the toughest job. Exactly. And I said, and I think of you guys when I land in the Osprey and the things that you have gone into. And I said, you've got to be nervous. And they said, no, we are ready for it. We want the green light from President Trump. They want the green light because they have a commander-in-chief. I don't think they want the green light under President Biden after seeing the perilous fall.
Biden is no longer the president, everybody.
Thank
and
goodness.
The same military that worked under Biden is the same military that executed that flawless execution of the nuclear. That President Trump then all of a sudden build this military. This is a continuation from President Obama, from President Bush, from H.W. Bush, from Reagan. We are the greatest in the world. And I just don't think that, I don't disagree with a lot of things you said.
2 wars started on Biden's
all I said, everybody around the table, stop looking back. Go forward. President Trump, you deserve a lot of the credit, but don't trash everybody that came before you.
I would not want to look backward if I realized that Biden was never president.
What? Okay.
You gotta show his face when it's...
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.